In the last episode, the ants convened to determine the Green's future. This enormous responsibility was difficult to fulfill, but they made every effort to match the girls with the right person. I had hoped that Aunt Lydia had selected Garth for Agnes in the 7th episode of the Testaments, but can anything positive ever occur in Gilead? When Agnes learns that Garth isn't one of the 3 possible matches the ants have selected for her, she is taken aback. It seems as though Aunt Lydia has attempted to undermine her, or maybe it's a caution to Agnes not to be too overt. Agnes is dissatisfied in either case, but she's been taught not to voice her displeasure. She is aware that women in Gilead are supposed to accept anyone their parents think is suitable for them and have no say in the matter. Agnes has always made an effort to be a well-behaved girl, but she still has a rebellious streak that occasionally comes out, and now that she is going to settle for a life she didn't really want, it could just come out again. When Daisy sees the eyes enter the school, she becomes terrified and worries if they have discovered that she has been working for Mayday. Unexpectedly, when they arrive, even Aunt Vidala appears a little anxious. Does she also have something to conceal? Does Vidala realize that Aunt Lydia has been keeping a secret journal in which she records her daily activities as well as her description of Gilead's ascent and the commander's crimes? Protecting this diary is essential since it is probably the only written record in Gilead. Women are not permitted to write in Gilead, but ants have this unique privilege, which Lydia plans to use. Vidala is nervous when the eyes appear because, in my opinion, she is aware of it. Daisy is still in danger, though, since it soon becomes apparent that the eyes are solely interested in the Pearl Girls. Commander Weston, Agnes' prospective spouse and someone Daisy despises, questions her. When he inquires about her life in Canada and how she came to be in Gilead, Daisy makes a sincere effort to respond. She changes the topic and highlights that the Pearl Girls had saved her when the commander remarks that her narrative is quite dramatic. She agrees with the commander when he quickly reminds her that she was truly saved by God. Daisy is still concerned because she saw her radio on the commander's desk, even though the interrogation wasn't as horrible as she had anticipated. In the bed beside her, they had discovered the radio in her hidden compartment. They most likely followed the radio signal and discovered that someone at the school was surreptitiously monitoring the outside world. The Pearl Girl who shared a bed with Daisy is abducted by the eyes near the conclusion of episode 7. They believed she was probably a Mayday activist because they had discovered the radio in her bed. Daisy feels terrible about the whole thing, but in Gilead, survival is the most important thing, and she must do everything in her power to fulfill her goal. Daisy tells Agnes that she has been questioned by the eyes after being startled to see her in a panic, but Agnes doesn't seem to understand her predicament. Agnes tells Daisy that she has grown up thinking the eyes are merely there to protect them. Since the eyes' targets are always Mayday protesters, so innocent, she believes Daisy has nothing to be concerned about. Agnes invites Daisy to her home in an attempt to console her. Agnes truly admires Daisy because she has a fight in her, despite their stark differences. Furthermore, Daisy is essentially Agnes' main source of information about this entirely alien manner of life since she is the only one with some understanding of the outside world. When Daisy pays Agnes a visit, she inquires about her life prior to moving to Gilead, the design of her bedroom, and the music she enjoyed. Agnes found everything to be both fascinating and frightening. Agnes says that she is okay with the way things operate in Gilead and that Daisy's explanation of how people can choose their partners outside of Gilead just causes confusion. Agnes wants to think that, but she finds it difficult to go past what Daisy just told her. She questions whether she really lacks personality and whether it was a horrible idea to determine her value on the day she was adopted by the Mackenzies. Agnes presents Daisy with an assortment of items from the pre-Gilead era that she discovered in the park. She had no idea what the artifacts were used for, so she enjoyed making up stories about them. Given that the crack pipe she had discovered had a flower embedded in it, she speculated that crack pipes might have been traded as a sign of affection. Daisy is astounded by Agnes' creativity and briefly contemplates telling her the truth, but ultimately decides against it as Agnes' version is superior. Daisy has endured a great deal of suffering, so she doesn't feel the need to demolish the world Agnes has created in her mind. Instead, she just tries to shield Agnes from the world's evils at that particular moment. Agnes decides to act a little rebelliously when Commander Weston visits the Mackenzie home. During their chat, she felt compelled to bring up the commander's wife, which she had heard about. Paula finds it unbelievable that Agnes has dared to say anything other than the customary welcome that she has been taught, as girls are not allowed to act in this manner. Green's chances of being married increase with her level of obedience, and Agnes' remark makes it abundantly evident that she is anything but obedient. The commander rushes out of the house, but not before declaring that his wife passed away during childbirth. That's not the startling part. He continues by saying that it was the worst day of his life since he lost his child. As you can see, he only mentioned losing his child and not his wife, which makes it obvious that Commander Weston is the worst of them all. After Agnes ruins her chances with the greatest match she has, Paula loses her temper and nearly wants to slap Agnes. Later that day, Paula tells Agnes that Commander Weston is still attracted to her because men like him appreciate challenging girls since they are more entertaining to punish. Daisy had researched Commander Weston, and based on what she knew, he had multiple restraining orders for domestic abuse and had worked in cryptography prior to the creation of Gilead, the ideal combo to be a commander in Gilead. Agnes will have a very challenging existence if she marries Commander Weston. She will be tortured and possibly killed if she is unable to procreate. Even if Agnes is forced to marry Weston, I have no doubt that she will resist and try to find a way out. Maybe then she will discover that Gilead is not a paradise. Perhaps in her desperation, she may approach Mayday and cooperate with Daisy to escape. In this episode, Rita from The Handmaid's Tale clarifies that Agnes is, in fact, June's firstborn by telling Daisy, during her brief stay with her before she arrived in Gilead, that June's daughter resides in Gilead and is roughly her age. It is Daisy's responsibility to watch out for Agnes, and she will stop at nothing to keep her safe. To be honest, I'm surprised that Aunt Lydia picked Garth for Becca. Is she aware that Agnes has affections for Garth and Becca has feelings for Agnes? Did she do it to complicate Agnes's life a bit? I believe Aunt Lydia is fully aware that Garth will never be selected as the Mackenzie's daughter. While the other matches are seasoned commanders, he is still in the early stages of his career and is not yet a commander. Although Becca doesn't have many excellent matches, Garth Chapin and Commander Maddox, the man who got her wasted at the ball, have expressed interest. Since Becca already knows that Agnes is in love with Garth, it's possible that Agnes will always be angry with her if she marries him. However, what other option does she have? She will have to go to the colonies, away from her friends and family, if she marries Maddox. However, if she marries Garth, she will be able to remain near home and at least be with someone who will value her. Girls in Gilead have no say in anything. Even if Becca wanted to wed Garth, her parents might choose Maddox for her because he is a more experienced commander than Garth. In that case, she would have to accept her fate or try to flee without a plan. The only reason Becca's parents might decide on Garth is because she is their only child and they would prefer that she remain nearby rather than go to the colonies. We get a brief love scene between Garth and Agnes in episode 7 of the Testaments. Although it's already clear that Agnes is infatuated with Garth, we now get to see that Garth feels the same way. Although becoming close to Agnes is beneficial to him, I don't think falling in love with her was ever his intention. He will marry Becca since it is the only way he will be able to maintain contact with her, and he, hopefully, truly cares about her. Since Becca is Agnes' closest friend, she will have ample motivation to pay her frequent visits. By allowing Agnes to become close to her husband, Becca may even be doing her a great benefit. She may have come to the realization that Agnes would never feel the same way about her, and allowing her to spend time with Garth in private will be their little secret and her way of making Agnes happy.